He's
the number one guy in X now.
Okay.
That got thrown off of Clubhouse because he was scheming people, bro.
Yeah.
And there was videos of him laughing about it.
Yeah.
He's number one guy in X. It's crazy. Whatever, make the story short, I was hosting a room, is the next lockdown coming? Clearly it is.
It did happen, yeah.
And it was just an open discussion. I wasn't pushing one way or the other. I was allowing the public to debate, which is what free speech should be, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, boom, I'm just off my own shit. I didn't even do anything wrong. They just threw me off.
They kicked you up. You got banned.
Banned for 30 days, and they let me back, and then they throttled me down. But it's okay. They got theirs. Their app's a joke now, man.
Yeah.
They should have sold it for $2 billion.
I think I heard it from you. You said they could have sold it, but they didn't. They could have sold it for $4 billion. Wasn't it $4 billion?
2, I think they went up to 4.
Okay.
Stupid.
They fucked up.
Bro, you take the bag, bro. You take the bag.
You gotta take the bag. What is it worth now? Probably nothing.
Bro, if they're lucky, a couple $100 million.
Yeah.
If they're lucky. I doubt it.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody even using it anymore, man.
Crazy. Are we rolling? Oh, we are. Oh, this is the podcast. Okay. Do you want headphones? Or you don't need them?
Yeah, we're going to start after this, I hope.
We'll start it now, yeah. 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Divijs podcast. This is the first episode of the year. So happy New Year, guys. I hope you guys had an amazing time with family. And this is my first podcast back, so I'm a little rusty, but I haven't worked in 2 weeks, so I'm giving myself grace. But I'm here with an amazing guest today, Beck Lover from New York City. You look like the CEO of New York with this outfit on right now. We'll get into that. But Beck Lover is a motivational speaker, entrepreneur, host of a podcast that's doing incredible things, motivational speaker, helping people around the world sort of, become the best versions of themselves. And, you've been very vocal about, I think, a lot of the fallacies and bad things that are happening in the States, especially, and especially New York City, which we'll get into, we saw the lady got set on fire last week, or 2 weeks ago on the subway. Man, stabbed 2 people yesterday. He's running around loose in the city. It's wild out here. But welcome, Beck Lover, to the podcast.
Brother, thank you.
Yeah.
First podcast of the year that I'm a guest on. And, we're talking about New York, but, you're from Cali.
Yeah.
And your state's being run the same exact way. And it's not by accident.
Yeah.
Because there has to come a point in time where people wake up and say, too many coincidences, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Too many people are stuck into labels of left and right, red and blue, right? And meanwhile, these leaders that we've entrusted that have a duty to us as citizens have not been living up to their oaths, okay, on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
And there's levels to this being aware, aware of what's really going on in the world and what's really going on in our country. And to see New York City in the condition that it's in currently is just, it's unforgivable.
Yeah.
What the alleged terrorist, couldn't do on 9/11, the politicians did to New York City. More people have left New York in the last 5 years than ever would have left after 9/11. And I know because I was underneath the World Trade Center the day it got hit.
You were there.
I was there. I was 19 years old. I was a student at Pace University.
Wow.
E-train last stop of the World Trade Center, the original World Trade Center, that station below. And I witnessed those events firsthand that day. And where something catastrophic like that happened, which actually brought New Yorkers together. And I remember the optimism after that. And then to see where we are today, really divided as fellow New Yorkers, the events of the last 5 years since the shutdown that occurred, and really to see the fabric of our city completely torn apart.
Yeah.
Is unforgivable. And all you need for proof of the games these people play is look at Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City. 1 minute, we welcome all the illegal people that have crossed the border illegally, the migrants. You're more than welcome to come here. 2 minutes later, he goes against that agenda. All of a sudden, he's indicted instantly, right? The second he started speaking against what I believe to be a global agenda to destabilize the United States of America from within, the minute he speaks out against that, he's indicted. And then he flips and basically, in my opinion, becomes a Republican without being one. These labels mean nothing. You're looking at these politicians, left and right, blue and red. They will say, and they will get behind whatever they have to stay in power and stay out of jail. And that's what Eric Adams just did. He flip-flopped, yes, border czar of Trump, whatever we got to do, I'm going to do it because I'm looking for that pardon, I've seen the mayor in nightclubs. He was in nightclubs more than he was running this city of ours. He was at Nebula. He was in the Hamptons. He was doing his thing. Yeah. He definitely had a great time. The question is, Same thing when we look at the presidency, what should be terrifying Americans. Forget left and right. Who has been running the country? Because if you think it's that old man, who's the man behind the Wizard of Oz? Who's the man or the woman behind who's the group of people? What's really going on? What every American should be asking them, see, they're trying to stop it right now.
It's actually Biden's calling me right now.
You know, they're trying to stop it right now. What should terrify all people is like, who's really been running the show?
Yeah.
That's terrifying to me. You got my man, again, I'm trying to avoid certain words because we don't live in a free society.
Yeah.
Okay? There needs to be serious consideration, maybe even an amendment to the U.S. Constitution that classifies social media as the public square. As an American, you have the right to go out into the streets and protest. They cannot stop you. That is your First Amendment right. We've already seen what social media, what type of impact it has on society, on selection of leaders. I don't want to use certain words for a reason. Okay? And what are known as color revolutions, literally can topple governments, right? The Arab Spring, all this stuff started online, right? Yeah. Color revolutions is the proper terminology. So when we know the impact that social media has on society, on life, during the shutdown, to not be able to discuss, which my man homeboy Zuckerberg admitted and apologized that, I was pressured by the state to suppress any conversations about what was happening to us, what was affecting our health, our loved ones, our society, literally every aspect of life as an American. We weren't allowed to have these conversations in the public square, which is social media.
Right.
So there needs to be some ratification, some serious legislation that's put in place now, supposedly if these guys are on our side, because even Mr. Elon started to suppress people.
Yeah.
Okay? And I've called him out. Look at the timestamps on my channel.
Yeah.
I said, I trust him none. Zero.
Dang.
Little. I was saying this 6 months ago. I was calling out people like Billy Carson a year ago.
Yeah.
It's in style now. Because there's levels to this, brother. I've been awake for a very long time. When you lose people in war, I lost 28 family members in 1998. They were massacred during the Kosovo War. I was a young man when I went through that experience. I was underneath the World Trade Center when I was 19. You start wanting to know, why is the world like this? Why is my family dead? Why did these two beautiful buildings that I used to look up with inspiration collapse right in front of my eyes? You start to go down some very dark holes.
Yeah.
I've been awake for a very long time. People used to call me crazy and stupid, and I used to warn people 5 years before the shutdown in 2019 that our nation was in danger, that the world was in danger, and that totalitarianism would peek its head up. And I got inspiration from people like Hamza Yusuf. This is an amazing scholar, which I would highly recommend you get on your show.
Yeah.
A brilliant man who, when I listened to one of his lectures in 1995, and you go back and listen to it now, the accuracy.
Yeah.
He was describing crypto before the word even existed.
Yeah.
With stunning accuracy. The guy, I don't consider myself a scholar, brother.
Yeah.
And I tell your audience too, please don't believe everything I say. Yeah. You have a responsibility also, podcasters, anyone that's speaking to the public.
Absolutely.
You should always question what I'm telling you.
Totally.
Don't accept it verbatim. Go and cross-reference what I'm telling you. Because as someone that does believe in a higher power, we have a responsibility to that higher power, because if I'm spreading things that are not true, and the people that take that knowledge, I'm responsible maybe for their actions after that based on what I told them.
Right. You know what's interesting about that is I was doing research on the word Bek, and it actually means mouth. And in the Middle East, it has something to do with power and respect, obviously. And so I think with someone like you who does have the power of tongue, or anybody for that matter, like Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, like it's important to fact check and to go back and say, okay, they're saying it with so much confidence, but is it really true? And I really like the way that Jubilee does their videos, because in those debates with like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, as they're saying these statistics, they'll actually have the fact checker pop up. And a lot of this stuff is, quite frankly, bullshit. But when you say it with confidence, it's like, okay, I believe what he's saying. You're wearing a suit, like you look like you're a reputable source. Not that you're not. But I want to kind of take it back, bro, because you have such an interesting story. From
And
what I
last point before you go.
Yeah, please.
People have 20-second memories. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
So it's so believable from these people, and we have TikTok syndrome. Swipe left, swipe right. So it's crazy that people can't remember what happened a month ago, and they can't put the tiles of the mosaic together to see the whole picture. And what's been going on to all of us has been happening for a very long. This is not overnight. This country did not get to where it is yesterday, or even because of Joe Biden. I'm not defending him.
Yeah.
This has been going on for a very long time, and we have short memories.
Yeah, it's just getting worse
as a collective, you know?
Yeah, I was talking to my sister about this yesterday. We were saying that we're so bombarded with information, right? Like, for example, if you have a credit card and you want to get the rewards from the credit card, you have to go through so many different hoops. There's all this fine print that you have to read. You're getting bombarded with information, and there's so many different options, like mileage, for example, on a plane. Like, if you want to gather your mileage, you have to enter your number. It's just like there's so much stuff that we have to do to achieve, to save money, to be frugal. But it's like, as humans, I think we're not bred to have that much stress and overwhelming, stuff on our plate.
Logins, passwords,
yeah,
this number, that number. Then even the passwords, some of them you can't use the same one because they don't allow a certain character. And the amount of information you require to retain, that's nonsense, right? And then speaking of the mileage stuff, blackout dates, and if you can't do this and you can't do that. And it's like they promise you this, and then really when you get down to it, it's almost impossible to extract what they've promised you.
Exactly.
It's crazy. I've had thousands and millions of miles expire in my lifetime.
It's crazy. And it's interesting. It's like, it's a new year. We're January 5th. We're all fresh. We want to, have this level of optimism like there used to be years ago. And it's like, you can't even blame somebody for not being optimistic, because it's like you wake up and you're bombarded with 1,000 emails. You got
negative,
fucking,
man. It's
it's
negative,
like, how do you build free space in your mind to actually live at peace and be present? I live in LA where it's ego city, and I was caught in it. I made a lot of money when I was younger. I was the ego guy, I've talked about on the podcast before. Now I'm led by the Holy Spirit. It's different, but even someone like me who is disciplined, someone like you who is disciplined, it's hard.
And I have my shortcomings, brother.
Of course, yeah, we're not perfect.
Yeah, I really do. I tell people I'm not perfect. I'm not someone you should follow. And I hate the word followers. I know you're a Christian.
Yeah.
And as someone that believes in scripture and believes in the prophets, peace and blessings be upon them, those are the people we should be following. Those are the people we should be looking up to.
Yeah.
It's not me. I have many shortcomings. I've made many mistakes that I'm ashamed of in my life. When I was a younger man and I was arrogant and look at me and I have this and I have that and I run, I can do anything I want and be with a million women or whatever, right? This false sense of confidence when really we're doing things that destroy us, destroy our soul, and destroy the society that we live in, that we contributed to that maybe in our earlier years. So, people I look up to, man, the prophet Joseph, what an amazing human being.
Yeah.
Blessing. What an amazing person who, because some people say, well, why me? And why is my life like this? And this is an amazing human being who didn't do anything wrong, who's thrown down a well by his own brothers, who's sold into slavery, who's seduced by his master's wife, doesn't fall for her temptation, makes up lies about him, throws him in prison, never once said, why me, God? Never lost his faith. And I would say, if people say, like, what's your greatest weakness? I'll be honest, my greatest weakness is in those moments of adversity to exercise patience, man.
I got it tattooed on my arm, just to remind myself.
You go. Or as the Albanians would say, durim. And durim has two meanings. It means patience, and it also means to endure, right?
Yeah. And
so many times we go through these trials and tribulations in life, and sometimes they're so painful, and we just don't understand why me, God, and why am I going through this? And, and people don't understand that there's something known as divine wisdom, and that sometimes you're just not going to know. And that as life progresses, sometimes, God does give you that answer later, like, hey, now I understand why. But there's just some things that we're never going to know until the next life. And as believers, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, we believe on that side of things, right? Eventually, it'll all make sense. There's going to just be some things that only God has wisdom of, and we have to have faith. We have to, that's to me what faith is. You don't get to see God, but he exists. And you know that he's going to put you through these, what I believe is his simulation, this life. This is his simulation.
Yeah. To
try those of us, who will be ultimately, will you be of the righteous or not? Are you going to sell out for your ego, for your lust, for your desires? Or are you going to submit those desires to do what's right? Because we all have desires. Let's be real. And they don't just go away. Your eyes don't just turn off when you see a beautiful woman walk by.
Yeah.
But you remember the Creator and you lower your gaze. You remember why you're on earth. There's a lot more we can go into about that. But yeah, man, these are the people should follow. It's not me, it's not you. And they should follow the content if it inspires or does something good for them. But I hate that word follower. I always tell my followers, you're not my followers. You're my friends.
Yeah.
We're friends.
Yeah. Jesus said 12. You don't need more than 12. It's interesting. I think, people will have these and I want to talk about your New Year's resolutions. But I think people have these resolutions of like reading books and, getting more educated and knowledgeable, which is important. It's important to read books. But
it's your duty, actually.
It's a duty, yeah. But I think people need to pick up the OG book, aka the Bible, and stop reading all this other stuff. Like, why are you reading from a man when you could go to the source and read about God? And I honestly think that's the firfirst book anybody should read. That book changed my life, for real.
All of the holy books, in my opinion,
or the Quran or whatever.
I could listen. Even I would never follow Hinduism ever, in my opinion, that doctrine. But there is moral teaching in there.
Yeah.
Like every single religion, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what the Muslims say to me. The truth of the matter is, every single religion, if you read their books, will make you a better human being. I believe the divine presence is in those books, but humanity altered. Humanity added or omitted from these scriptures, at least from our perspective, right? Which is a little different than the Christian perspective. From the Muslim perspective, for your audience that doesn't know what I am,
you recently converted to Muslim.
No,
to Muslim, right?
That's not true.
Not true?
So I was born into a secular family.
Okay.
And as I, was younger, I started having, this curiosity of God. It was actually, which people laugh at, it was actually learning that Jesus was in Islam, which made me curious about faith. Because as an American, everyone's celebrating Christmas. I could sing every Christmas song on earth because I went to public school. Fa la 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 la, right? I was in choir and all that stuff. And I always wanted to get presents, man. And everyone was getting presents. And I would leave the cookies out and the milk and they'd be gone in the morning. There'd be no presents. And I'm like, and then one day I heard through friends like, we believe, Muslims believe in Jesus. I'm like, wait, we can celebrate Christmas, man? I got all happy. It's like, we're going to get presents. I'm going to my parents, like, where's my presents? They're like, yeah, we believe in him, but not the way they do. And we don't celebrate his quote unquote birthday and blah, blah, blah. So, but it was that curiosity. I was like, wait, we believe in Jesus? Peace be upon him. And that's the thing. So that's kind of what led me on my path to like study faith. And I wasn't born into a family that taught me spirituality or, they just said there's a God. They didn't teach me this or that. Actually, they were the opposite. When I started becoming more, religious, they were kind of pushing back like, hey, this is not like something you should take too serious and take it easy and, don't become a fanatic and blah, blah, blah. Like they actually pushed back against my spiritual journey in those early years. I really started becoming more spiritual in the 8th grade is when I had like my aha moment,
Yeah. Was there some like pain and suffering around that when you first found God or was it?
No, there wasn't. The horrible events that happened in my life, like losing family in the Kosovo War, didn't happen till later, a few years later, like right in high schools when that started. And thank God I knew where to go when I was in trouble. I knew where to go when my heart was broken. I've always known that when things go wrong, there's only one place you can go. And the reason so many people are struggling out there in this world is when these events that happen to them that they didn't attract through the law of attraction, which is not a law.
Yeah.
They didn't manifest these horrible events that happened to them. When I lost people I loved, I didn't attract that. I didn't, I was very positive in life. Things were going, I didn't ask for someone to pass away, which led to this time of sorrow and, pain that I had to go through. So, yeah, it was having that relationship with God that got me through some of the worst times in my life that I know for a fact that if I didn't go down that path, I probably wouldn't be here today. And we all go through these battles of darkness and we want to take the easy way out. Oh, I'll take a pill or I'll go see. And I'm not saying people shouldn't go to therapy and I'm not against therapy. But I truly believe there are some conditions of the human that cannot be resolved through therapy. I believe that there is spiritual disease. And people are trying to cure these spiritual diseases with physical remedies. And if that was the case, people like Robin Williams will still be here.
Yeah, legend.
Okay, legend. When I found out the way he went down, it made me, this is the only guy that ever made me laugh and cry in the same
Straight up, Mrs. Doubtfire, right?
All of those
Unreal.
films. It's just all of his films. But
Yeah.
to see his demise, you know, and then people like, you know, the king of pop,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson, right?
Jackson.
Needed to use sleeping pills to go to sleep. And I've spoken publicly about this. I believe they had a condition known as the evil eye. And this is a condition that exists in all three faiths. It's a concept in Christianity also. Actually, through Joseph is when it's mentioned in the Quran.
Yeah.
That Jacob, peace be upon him, one of the greatest prophets, commanded his sons to enter the different gates of Egypt so that the eye wouldn't hit all of them at once. You're a public person, my brother. I'm a public person. And the more public you are, the more in danger you are of this phenomenon that some people believe in, some don't. Now, where people go wrong with this is they use this blue eye amulet as protection, and that is nothing more than idolatry.
Right.
The minute you start making images and carving things and statues, and that, you are now in direct disobedience of the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, you're making false idols.
You're making a false idol. Nothing can cure you. I had this phenomenon afflict me.
Yeah.
And it takes, this is Britney Spears, brother. Look at her. I see images of her and videos of her, and it completely breaks my heart.
You. Yeah.
It's so tragic, but this happens to so many high-profile people. I've met so many what people would classify as attractive women, and you can see the pattern with them.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Virgin Mary was covered, brother? It wasn't to suppress women. Beauty is a curse.
Yeah.
It's through that covering that not only are they protecting themselves from unwanted advances from men, but also from their eyes, because these beautiful women that flaunt their beauty, that is a gift from God to them, but it also comes with a responsibility that most attractive women don't know. They don't understand why they can't find a cure to this anxiety. They're popping volumes or whatever their doctors tell them, and they're miserable. I ran into one girl, 20 million followers, outside of this nightclub. She's crying hysterically. I just went to make sure as a man that, hey, are you okay? Are you in danger? No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong? Well, my boyfriend, she was with some trap rapper, cheated on her, right? What did you expect?
Yeah.
She's like, I think I'm just going to go to that building and jump off of it. Now I'm worried, are she really going to come? Because they will. You know, believe people when they tell you something. So I wanted to make sure she was okay, and she wasn't. Her friends came and took her. I said, listen, she just made this threat.
Yeah.
I don't take these lightly. I've lost people to unaliving themselves. And I'm telling you, a lot of these attractive women and men, because Joseph was extremely handsome as a prophet, peace be upon him. They say he was one of the most beautiful human beings ever, get these unwanted eyes on them, okay? So the women want to look like them, and the men want to be with them.
Right.
And women don't realize that that veil is not to suppress, it's also a form of protection. Spiritual protection. It's not just about, oh, let's suppress women and let's put them down. There's levels to this stuff. And of course, nothing I says makes sense to you because you don't even have the basics of spirituality. Right. So many people think they watch a few TikTok videos or they watch a quote unquote Christian or Muslim scholar and they think they understand a faith of thousands of years without the history, without the context, without how it was compiled. Like there's so much that goes into faith that you're not going to learn it in 2 minutes.
No.
You can't learn Christianity in 2 minutes. You can't learn Islam in 2 minutes. You can't learn Buddhism in 2 minutes on a TikTok video.
Right.
You might get some points.
Right.
You might get some articles of faith. But even I've misunderstood my faith at times when I thought I understood it. And I've made mistakes. And I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I do not consider myself a scholar. I always tell people, please, double check what I'm telling you. I learn from you just like you learn from me.
Yeah.
It's through that discourse that we can all evolve spiritually and have these conversations.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. It's like going to the gym. You don't get jacked by looking at TikToks. You have to train your mind and body and spirit. And I think people train their body, but they forget to train their mind and they forget to train their spirit. And I think even just a month in the spirit gym will completely change a man's life or a woman's life for that matter. I want to switch gears, bro, because I was watching some podcasts about about you and what you talk about, and you mentioned the bastard generation.
Generation of bastards.
Yeah, can you talk to me about that? What is the generation of bastards?
We're in it right now, brother. We're in it right now, and it's not to put people down. You know, I've evolved so much in thinking that I swear to God, there's this part of me that feels bad for these criminals, man. You know?
Yeah.
When you study statistics, when you study criminology, you know, like 90% of violent crime is committed from children that didn't have a father, bro. Or they didn't have a mother. But it's usually more exponentially greater when the father is not present in the life of the child. And because so many of these children are born out of wedlock, which is the essence of the definition of bastard, you know, that was an insult to a lot of people because society had morals. So if you were born out of wedlock, they'd call you a bastard, right? And it was like people would fight over this. In the Albanian culture, you called someone a kopil, a bastard. They'd blow your brains out.
Yeah.
Because you're basically calling their mother a harlot, right?
Oh, geez.
So, and where we've gone now is that 60% of children are now born out of wedlock. They're born out of lust and not love. These children were not shown love. Therefore, they don't know how to love. They were neglected by the two people that brought them into this world. So why would they show any respect or love or compassion to the rest of society when the two most important people in their life betrayed them, left them to the streets? So because they're born out of a deadly sin, death is what follows their actions. These generation of bastards, we are paying the price for the neglect of their family, the neglect of their parents, because they give the prize to a man or a woman out of wedlock with no commitment. They allow people into their temple, into their soul, which decays them spiritually. And the fruit of their labor is a child. And I'm not saying that there's not exceptions to that, but the statistics are loud and clear. Yeah. Go look at the Heritage Society. Go look at these stats.
Yeah.
Violent crime, murder, rape, these things. Violent crime. So this is the generation of bastards. And this culture has spread not only in America, throughout the entire world. Divorce was unheard of in my community 30 years ago.
Yeah.
People would get into shootouts over it because of honor and my daughter and this and that.
Yeah.
And now it's become the norm. So we have decayed, brother. We are in Babylon. We are in the end of Rome. This decadence, this promiscuity that, in my opinion, has rotted us to a core because the family is the core of society. The family unit has been annihilated.
Yeah.
And it's not just through that. It's the music, it's the culture, it's the film. It's allowing this energy into our souls.
Yeah.
That we're bombarded with it, swiping left and right. You know, you listen to shows like the Fresh and Fit podcast. It brings a lot of these things up to, you know, they talk about these things. And you see really where the young people's mindsets are at.
Yeah.
Where I'm hearing more young people going, I don't want to get married. They're scared to get married.
Right.
And I would say this to any young person, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, anyone that's spiritual. I have commanded my own children, I don't care what you marry. They don't even have to be a Muslim. As long as they believe in God. They have to believe in God if you're going to have any chance of succeeding in your marriage. Because whatever starts in God's name will carry on in God's name.
Right.
It's when you start out of lust, how is that going to be blessed?
Yeah.
The seed of that relationship started on the wrong foot. Now, maybe if both repent, you know, and beg God, hey, we started the wrong way, but we do love each other and we want to make it right. And, you know, you have that conversation with God. I think you could turn a relationship out of lust into love.
Sure.
Because there's a mutual, you know, acknowledgement that, hey, we kind of started this on the wrong foot. Let's get good with God and let's, you know, beg him to bless this now and forget, you know, maybe. And I'm not saying that people should do things in lust. Yeah. But I'm saying if you're in that situation and you could feel that, hey, this is wrong and maybe, you know, let's beg God to bless this now. You're not going to succeed without his blessing. Yeah. I don't care who you are. That's in business, life, health. So many times you go, I got lucky. There is no luck in this life.
Right. Right.
There is no luck. Could you control when you were born?
No.
Could you control to who you were born?
No.
So that was chosen for you. The game board of this life is rigged by the Creator.
Yeah.
The events that happen to us, there's many things that happen to us that we have no control over. That's his power.
Right.
How we respond.
Correct.
That is our free will. That is our salvation. And as I mentioned earlier, this is when it's important to exercise patience, where many times we rush out of anger and we create more damage. And this is where I lack sometimes. You know, I'm telling people my faults. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm very sharp with my tongue and I regret it. It's my greatest weakness. It's my greatest strength and weakness at the same time, because words are very powerful. And I have hurt people. You know, I can be very nasty with my tongue at times, right? So being conscious of what you're doing wrong and working on that, right? And exercising patience.
Yeah.
We live in a society that wants everything now.
Instant gratification. Instant.
And we're being controlled by weapons of mass envy. That's what the smartphone is. It's a weapon of mass envy that only creates FOMO, that makes you feel insignificant. And you don't realize that you're exactly where the creator wants you to be.
Right.
But you're not connected to the creator.
Right.
So you're out there in the wilderness of life and you have no North Star. That is your star. You're not living by the principles that these amazing human beings brought us. We're out of order, bro.
Yeah.
All of these books, the Torah, the Bible, for me as a Muslim, the Quran, are like when the manufacturer gives you, you know, the book. What is it called? The warranty book or the guide book, the manual.
The manual, yeah.
And all of them do have the same exact truths. Avoid these deadly sins, submit to the creator,